Kim Hile, the proud superintendent of Osseo Area Schools, and thank you so much for being here tonight, because your voice is so important to us. We need your thoughts, we need your input. So thank you for coming this evening. I also was thankful that it wasn't 40 below outside when you had to come. So I do want to take time, we'll have school board members coming in at different times today, but we do have Director Kelsey Dawson here. So thank you, Kelsey, for coming in this evening. All right, so here we go. So we have a lot of information we're going to share tonight. You're not just supposed to pull all this in. You're going to be here, you'll be able to talk with each other, but you'll also have plenty of time to look, to read, to come back again, to ask questions. So don't feel like you have to have everything tonight, and whatever happens tonight is the final answer, because it's not. So what we're going to be going through this evening is we're going to share a little on who we are as a school district, just to kind of go over the large, because we're quite a large school district. What an attendance boundary is, just to make sure we're all on the same page with that. Why attendance boundaries need changing at this point in Osseo Area Schools, the change process timeline, the parameters that was used for these proposed scenarios that we have this evening, the proposed scenarios and details surrounding them, what exactly is the transition plan for this change, and your opportunity to share your thoughts tonight, which includes splitting into smaller groups, sharing your feedback, asking questions after our presentation. So we're going to share some information about the next 30 minutes. We're going to take down some notes and comments and questions, which you're going to share afterwards with your small groups. So before we get started, I want to take a minute to talk about one thing that we're striving to do here in Osseo Area Schools. The last couple of years, we've been working toward becoming one community for all, where all voices are valued and heard. And we truly believe in that. And this means for all of our stakeholders. That's all our students, all our staffs, parents and caregivers, our community members play an important role in our district. We would not have a district without you, so we thank you for that. You should feel seen and appreciated as part of our Osseo Area School District. Whether it's today, tomorrow, or 5 weeks from now, you are important to us. So I do just want to pause and make sure to say this one more time, and I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive. This is just our first version of scenarios being presented to you tonight. Please note, the district has not made a choice. There's no choice. The choice is going to come from the voice of our public. This is why you're here tonight, for us to gather your input. We're going to adjust things according to your input. We're going to come back to you again and look at the new input and take that feedback. So this is truly a collaborative model, which kind of connects to what we do in our district is what we call holding space. So what is holding space? That's the main way here in Osseo Area Schools we ensure that all are heard and valued. So holding space, it means we are willing to walk alongside another person in whatever journey they're on, without judging them, making them feel inadequate, trying to fix them, or trying to impact the outcome. When we hold space for other people, we open our hearts, offer unconditional support, and we let go of judgment and control. This evening, feel free respectively to share your thoughts, listen to your neighbors. So be respectful and understand that each person here has their own lived experiences. You are here from what your needs of your family are. So you need to make sure you share that and give us your input. And we just want to make sure this environment is safe where you can be who you are and share your thoughts. Let's talk about Osseo Area Schools. Let's just look really quick at it. So once again, you probably all know this, Osseo Area School encompasses all part of 8 communities. They ranges from Dayton, Rogers, Corcoran in the far northwest parts, to Plymouth to the south, and Brooklyn Center to the east. So the 2 largest communities we serve are Brooklyn Park and Maple Grove, with the city of Osseo in the center. About 160,000 community members live within this entire area. We are the 5th largest school district in the state, serving nearly 21,000 students. More than 15,000 of our students choose to utilize transportation services each day. And this equates to about 36,000 bus routes that occur each day. We have a total of 31 school buildings. Currently, there are 24 traditional elementary, middle, and high schools. We also have 7 special program sites, which include an area learning center, and of course our early childhood centers. Soon there will be a 32nd school building, thanks to our community support and Building a Better Future too, in 2023. A new elementary school is being built in the very northwest corner of our district in Maple Grove. It is set to open fall of 2026. Our school buildings are between 24 and 100 years old. So the sizes of each vary because of the different time periods they were built, which has created capacity level differences among our district schools. The most noticeable this is at is our elementary school level. The more older schools, which makes sense, tend to be smaller, and the newer schools a little larger. The school buildings were also placed where community growth was being experienced at that time, during different eras and what space was available. So in a general sense, Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center tend to be more established neighborhoods right now, and Maple Grove, Dayton, and Plymouth are mostly growing. So just one last fun fact if you want to know, all these school buildings spread out over 703 acres of land. So it is so important to us to know how our community feels. You give us direction. You tell us what's working and you tell us what's not working. So the good news is that so far that feedback, and I'm going to be optimistic, it's going to keep going, that feedback continues to show that our community thinks highly of our work here in Osseo Area Schools. So 82% of survey respondents say good or excellent on how well the quality of education is here at Osseo Area Schools. 87% said most students' needs are met, and 84% they say they're proud of our schools and will recommend them to others. So this is why we're here tonight. Let's dive into attendance boundaries. Some of the lingo we're using to share about this change can be confusing. We want to make sure it's clear and understandable as you interact with this information. So what exactly is an attendance boundary? Attendance boundary is a geographical area from which students are eligible to attend a district school. This means your household address is assigned to an elementary, middle, and high school. So in essence, this process may change the elementary and middle school your household is currently set to attend. So just a quick note, students may be moved between buildings within a district, but attendance boundary changes will not impact which are assigned to attend Osseo schools versus surrounding schools. So we can have people that live close by, but their district is in Hennepin, Whiteside, or Robbinsdale. So why do we need to change now? Why now? What's occurring? And the simplest way to be able to share this out, it has to do where our students are going and what our schools can hold. This can obviously change from year to year or decade to decade. So we have an Enrollment and Capacity Management Advisory Committee, or ECMAC. And they have been monitoring, this is a community committee, and has been monitoring enrollment shifts in conjunction with our school building capacities for the last several years. Their most recent reports have detailed that a significant enrollment imbalance exists and that it's to the point that it needs to be addressed. Specifically, there is significant growth in our northwest portion of our district. There will be future housing and redevelopment are expected to keep growing in these areas. So in addition to that, there are also some district schools that are under capacity. So ECMAC's work helped to form a 2023 Building a Better Future referendum. And Building a Better Future Oversight Tax agreed with ECMAC, suggesting an additional facilities space became part of the 2023 referendum as a result. So once again, we want to thank everyone for helping us with that Build a Better Future. And this is what helped us be able to build a new elementary school in elementary school in addition to the Maple Grove Senior High that will be occurring as well this summer. So during the 2023 Build a Better Future referendum, it was additionally noted that attendance boundaries were needed no matter what the outcome of the election was, that we needed to do something. So with additional facility space being added within a community referendum support, attendance boundaries will be limited to elementary and middle schools only. And in turn, this will impact fewer families as promised. Just to be clear, that means there are no changes made to the high school, because that would have been, this is awful anyway, but high school. Okay, we understand the community members make a lot of their decisions based on their household school assignments. So this process is not something we want to do often. In fact, Osseo Area Schools has not done this in more than 15 years on a large scale. So we just come to the point that is needed right now. So what is the timeline for this attendance boundary change? The attendance boundary work actually kicked off this fall. At that time, we had community members had the opportunity to provide their thoughts on the parameters the core team should be using to create these proposed scenarios. We had nearly 3,000 community members participated on what would our parameters be to set these boundaries. These are now called our community-built parameters, which we'll go through momentarily. Since late September, the attendance boundary changes core team has been utilizing these community-built parameters to develop proposed scenarios. Tonight, you'll be seeing 4 of those this evening from that team's work. Now, between now and April or May, we will be reviewing your feedback. We will be reviewing community feedback and considering adjustments to these proposed scenarios. We're hearing you. So since this afternoon, just under 300 community members have already shared their thoughts. Tonight is just an additional opportunity for all of you to share it as well. Final attendance boundaries are expected to be announced by the end of this school year. The new attendance boundaries, however, will not go into effect until fall of 2026. The only exception to this is Crestview Elementary. These families will make their moves in the fall of 2025. Our Building a Better Future plan shared that an elementary school will be repurposed to serve pre-kindergarten grades, enrichment, and community-based programming needs. We will also be reaching out to the community to get more ideas for this site. So after much research and consideration, Crestview Elementary School was the school chosen to do this. So Crestview's kindergarten through grade 5 students and staff will be moving schools in the fall of 2025, the start of the 2025-26 school year. So these children that are moving and staff that are moving this fall, this will be the only time that they will need to move, so we will not move them twice. You'll likely put these two pieces together, but the 2026 timeline matches the opening of the new school in Northwest Maple Grove. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to John Morstead, our Executive Director of Finance and Operations, and he's going to walk you through the parameters, and he's going to walk you through what our scenarios are. And before that, I do want to introduce, we also have Director Thomas Brooks from the school board here as well. John?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Heil. So we're going to start with the community-built parameters. This is the parameters the core team worked with to create the proposed scenarios, starting with centering our core values, honor and integrity, belonging, inclusion, innovation and excellence, transparency and intrinsic value. Ensure scenarios can function in our system, including but not limited to transportation, building utilization and capacity, enrollment, current and future, teaching and learning program offerings, and financial costs. Ensure scenarios have longevity in our system. Follow the teacher-student class targets established by the school board. Consider the number of students impacted in each scenario, and consider the student demographics of each scenario. Continuing on parameters, consider connecting more schools from level to level. Keep neighborhoods intact as much as possible. Minimize non-contiguous or non-adjoining areas. Maintain a 0.8 tenth of a mile elementary and 1.0 mile secondary transportation service area. That's the walk areas that are traditionally around each school. Maintain safety standards in regard to bus routing, avoiding major highways, etc. Avoid lengthy travel time on buses, and comply with state laws, school board policy, and negotiated agreements. As you can see, this is a pretty thorough list of parameters. As we review our 4 proposed scenarios, you may notice that some of these parameters are adhered to more than others from scenario to scenario. The core team did their best to utilize all the parameters as much as possible, again, while utilizing the size of the schools and current placement of school buildings that we have today and are soon expecting. In just a few minutes, we'll be going through the specifics on the 4 proposed scenarios. As Dr. Heil mentioned, you'll have an opportunity to provide feedback and ask questions in the small group portion of tonight's event, which is just after the presentation. So in the meantime, make sure to note any of your comments and questions, and we'll get to them soon. This is an overview of the 4 proposed scenarios being shared tonight. Bullet points 2 and 3 mention specific Groups of students that would be impacted, as noted in the community-built parameters, this was just looked at for all the scenarios, but this is just a snapshot of that. So between 1,800 and 3,700 elementary and middle school students would move in these four scenarios, which is between 8 and 18% of our student population. Again, Dr. Heil mentioned high schoolers are not impacted and high school boundaries are not changing in this process. We made a promise in the referendum and we fully intend to keep that promise. Racial demographics of schools would not change more than 5% in the majority of cases, and poverty demographics of the schools would also not change more than 5% in the majority of the cases. All right, let's get down to the good stuff. I'm going to start by kind of explaining the map for you. This is scenario number one. As you're looking at this, the colors represent the middle schools for the attendance boundaries. So orange is Osseo Middle, red is Maple Grove Middle, green is Northview Middle, blue is Brooklyn Middle. Within each color group, you'll see proposed attendance boundaries for the elementary schools feeding into that particular middle school. You will also see, in this case, one middle school or elementary school shaded in a kind of a purple hash color. These schools are proposed to split to more than one middle school. One of the goals of the parameters is to reduce the number of elementary schools that split students to different middle schools. For reference, today we have 7 elementaries out of 17 that split to different middle schools or have multiple options. In this scenario, we have 1. In all of the scenarios, the most we propose is 3. In this scenario, approximately 3,000 elementary and middle school students would be impacted. Some of the strengths of this scenario are its building use efficiency, elimination of non-adjoining geographical areas, and an improved feeder-like structure as students move with classmates from elementary to middle school. This scenario would last for the foreseeable future. Elementary school specifics, neighborhoods would remain mostly intact as more natural barriers, major roadways, parks, creeks, and lakes are utilized. All but one school building, that building being Cedar Island, would be within its own attendance boundary. Cedar Island would be across the street. This means students closest to each school would be able to attend and potentially walk there. For the middle school, the non-adjoining geographic areas that currently exist near Northview Middle School would be eliminated. All school buildings would be within their own attendance boundary. Again, students closest to each school would be able to attend and potentially walk there. Moving to scenario number 2. Scenario 2 is built to provide a little more minimal change while still meeting as many parameters as possible. Approximately 2,100 elementary and middle school students would be impacted in this scenario. Some of the strengths of this scenario are its low number of changes, its functionality within our system, including efficiencies with building use and transportation services, elimination of non-adjoining geographic areas, and an improved feeder-like structure as students would move with classmates from elementary to middle school. This scenario would also last for the foreseeable future. I forgot to explain one thing as you're looking at the maps. The hashed part of Edinbrook in this example, if you look to the lower left, you see how that breaks at middle school and where those lines are. And I know it's a small map and we'll talk about how to get the specific details of where you may particularly live if you're really close to one of those boundaries in just a minute. So at the elementary school level, in this scenario, neighborhoods again would remain mostly intact, following more natural borders. Again, those roadways, parks, creeks, and lakes. All school buildings would be within their attendance boundary. This means students closest to each school would be able to attend and potentially walk there. Only one elementary school would be split to multiple middle schools, again, in this case, Edinbrook. At the middle school level, non-adjoining geographic areas that currently exist at Northview Middle School would be eliminated. All school buildings would be within their own attendance boundary, allowing that walkability for those who live close to those schools. Okay, moving to scenario 3. Scenario 3, approximately 3,700 students at middle and elementary would be impacted by this scenario. Some of the strengths of this scenario are its building use efficiency, eliminating non-adjoining geographic areas and improving the feeder-like structure as students move with classmates from elementary to middle school. This scenario would also last for the foreseeable future. At the elementary level, neighborhoods would remain mostly intact, again following the natural barriers of roadways, parks, lakes, and creeks. All but one school building, Cedar Island, would be within their own attendance boundary. This is just elementary. 2 elementary schools would be split into multiple middle schools, Edinbrook and Palmer Lake. At the middle school, capacity issues at the middle school level are addressed. Non-adjoining geographic areas that currently exist near Northview Middle School would be eliminated. However, the 3 middle schools would all be located, 3 of the 4 within the Northview Middle School attendance boundary. So this removes some students' opportunity to attend their most proximal school. In the last scenario, number 4, this scenario moves the least amount of students. Approximately 1,800 students would be impacted by this scenario. The strength of this scenario is its low number of changes. However, because it moves the fewest number of students, new middle school attendance boundaries would be needed by 2028. The elementary boundaries proposed in scenario 4 would be good for the foreseeable future, but not the middle school. In the elementary school level, this is the same as scenario 2, but the feeder-like structure as students move from elementary to middle would not be as improved, with 3 different elementary schools being split between different middle schools, and you can see on the chart how they split by color. All school buildings would be within their own attendance boundary, again meaning that students closest to each school would be able to attend and potentially walk there. The 3 elementary schools that would split to multiple middle schools are Edinbrook, Parkbrook, and Fair Oaks. At the middle school level, this is similar to scenario 2. The only difference here is that we would keep 2 of the 3 current non-adjoining, non-contiguous areas that currently exist near Northview Middle School. All but one school building, Brooklyn Middle, would be within its own attendance boundary, which means, again, students close to each school would be able to attend and potentially walk there. And I want to show you the middle, just middle school only for scenario 4. That's what this other map is, to show you those 2 non-contiguous pockets, one going to Osseo Middle that exists today, and the red one going to Maple Grove that exists today. There is a third today, but because it is the farthest distance from Maple Grove, we made the decision in this scenario to propose that it splits between Northview Middle and Brooklyn Middle. Again, in this particular scenario, because we're not moving as many middle school kids, we expect Osseo Middle and Maple Grove Middle to hit capacity and us to need to come back to that boundary conversation by 2028. Okay, so now that you've seen the 4 scenarios, I'm sure the very first question on your mind is how exactly does this affect me? To help you with that, please check out the boundary website for interactive maps for each of the proposed scenarios. And also in here, you can type your address and find out any of the impacts. So either the QR codes here are also on the website. Each QR code will take you to an interactive map per scenario where you can enter your address. It'll ask you to confirm your address and then tell you which elementary, middle school, and high school you would attend. The website is district279.org/boundaries. We do have Chromebooks available back in the corner tonight. If you'd like to take a look, just jump on them anytime you want. Next step, so we have a lot of frequently asked questions. And what we're going to do is try to highlight a couple real low-hanging ones or more obvious ones to help you. But again, I would refer you to that same website for a more detailed response. There's a whole lot of lists there. So one of the most common questions is, if I would like to go to a different school than my boundary school, can I? There are 2 different answers to this, depending. So I'm going to explain those to you. If you currently attend your boundary school on our current map today, and you have not taken any action to change that, going forward, your child would attend their future boundary school just like you're attending your current one. So no changes will be allowed there. Since the new attendance boundaries will be determined more than a year ahead of the implementation, we will not implement any hold harmless option where students can stay within their current school. If you have taken action on your child's school from your current boundary school, meaning through either an in-district transfer, which is I live within the district but I'm moving from my boundary school to a different school, or through open enrollment, which means I live outside the school district and have been granted open enrollment and given a path through school. People that fit in those two scenarios, students will be given a hold harmless option. We have already promised you a path, and much like we did with the senior high and our promise to not change that boundary, we made a promise to you with a path. You will have the right to retain that if you so choose. So if we would move you and you want to stay at a school, you're going to have that right. However, some may choose to say, nope, I want to go to the school, and you'll still always have the right to go back to your boundary school. That exists for all students. Some frequently asked questions in the district's transfer, on in-district transfer and open enrollment. Just a quick breakdown. I think I touched on it, but in-district transfer is you are a current community member living within our outer border, attending one of our schools, but you've been given the option to attend a different school than your boundary school. And open enrollment are schools from outside of Osseo Area Schools. You live in Wayzata or Robbinsdale and have been granted open enrollment in. There are very specific state requirements with open enrollment that we have to follow, so it's a little bit tighter. Current in-district transfer and open enrollment students can remain at their chosen sites if they desire. Applications do not need to be refilled out for anything with those two scenarios. School board procedures prohibit the district from offering in-district transfer to impacted schools during attendance boundary transition years. That means new in-district transfer requests will not be allowed at district elementary and middle schools from now through the end of the 27-28 school year. Doing this enables the district to see the most accurate representation of changes and helps us to better evaluate the success and long-term efficiencies. Current restricted in-district transfer and open enrollment schools will remain in place until a review has been completed, which will happen no later than January 15th of 2027. Sorry, I think we were off a year on that. It's through the 26-27 school year is where we're going to hold that. It's not another year after that. It's just through 26-27. So my apologies there. So the current restricted schools, Fernbrook is a really good example. That building has been very full for quite a while, and we will need to be able to see how our changes impact that building before we necessarily open it back up to potentially allowing in-district transfer or not. Busing information that goes along with these changes will be shared, as it usually is, in the regular back-to-school season, so be looking for that information. If with a fall 26 implementation, you should see that in August of 2026. Again, there are a lot more answers to frequently asked questions on the website, district279.org/boundary. So please check those out. And I will turn it back to Dr. Heil to talk about transition.
Thank you. I do believe school board member, I don't know if she got past me, Director Erica Foster is here as well. Hey. Okay. So first of all, we just want to once again, the district really appreciate your flexibility with these changes. We know that these are difficult changes in this transition, and we're all here to support each other. Please feel free at any time. You can reach out to the district, you can reach out to schools, you can reach out if you have any questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. If you have a question, we're going to answer that for you. Also, if you have any questions besides connecting with your school, you can also, don't hesitate to reach out to our hotline of Better Future at district279.org. And there's actually a phone number as well, 763-391-8990 at any time. So, okay, perhaps now we're going to what you've been waiting for. The feedback portion of the night is ready. And if there's so much like thrown at you, we know it's going to take steps for this. But as I shared, community support is very important for us. It's a community voice. There's two ways that you can choose to provide feedback this evening. Option one is go to that assigned small group. The color and number on your name tag matches a small group that you've been assigned to. And in a minute, each facilitator of those tables will facilitate those small groups. They will hold up the color to those groups so you can easily find them where you need to go in case you're not sitting at the right table. And it's okay if you're not sitting at the right table. We're all doing the same information. If you have been assigned a group, feel free to come up front and we'll be able to give you a group to be able to attend to. The second way in which you can always provide us feedback as well is a QR code on the screen and fill out a Google form via the website link. All of your feedback, whether it's via the group form or whether it's via recorded by the core team in the next coming week. Adjustments will be made as a result. New proposed scenarios are expected to be shared in March, and at that time, once again, you will have the opportunity to provide feedback. So please make sure you stay tuned for those next steps. So again, I just want to share over again, multiple ways that you can share. This is not just your only opportunity. District279.org/boundaries. Parent and caregivers can stay tuned to regular updates. We'll send those via email and text. All our community members can also connect to Build a Better Future at district279.org, 763-391-8990. So thank you for your time tonight. You're helping make these needed changes the best that they can be, and let's get some work done. Thank you. Go ahead and start our people at our team.